everybody, welcome back to my second channel. So excited for today's video. I love talking about attachment styles. If you don't know who I am, my name's Simone. This is my second channel. I'm a psychology graduate, I'm a psychic. I can read your mind. Just kidding. This is a really important video because attachment styles are going to tell you so much about yourself and how you behave, and also other people. If you're in a relationship where you want to be in a healthy relationship and you want to have better friendships, you need to understand attachment styles. So I've got a lot of notes. Let's go over it. We have 4 attachment styles. We have secure, anxious, dismissive avoidant, and we have a fearful avoidant. And we're going to go into what all of those are. All you need to know, attachment styles are essentially how we bond to other people, and how easy or difficult that is for us to bond. Some of you may be thinking, why am I so toxic? Why do I pull away from people? Why am I always obsessed over someone? It's because of your attachment style, and it's unfortunately because of your parents actually. Maybe some other relationships later in life as well, which have impacted how you attach to someone else. For example, if you were neglected as a child and you're crying as a baby or even a toddler and your parent ignores you, and they don't comfort you, you're going to develop what's called an avoidant attachment. Yeah, let's actually start with avoidant attachments because boy, do I know a lot about avoidant attachments. Trust. I've dealt with a lot of dismissive avoidant men and they are like Satan spawn avoidants. Honestly, sorry, if they are unaware of self and their behavioral tendencies, you just shouldn't be with them, period, because they will make any secure anxious, and they will make any anxious even more anxious. Because don't forget, yes, we have a fundamental attachment style, but it also can depend on who we are attaching to. Like I said, if you're secure, you start dating an avoidant, that avoidant can then make you anxious, and you'll be like, whoa, I've always been so stable, and why am I suddenly feeling like this? Oh, because an avoidant made you feel like that. Okay, let's start with avoidance. Avoidant attachment is developed because, yes, they're neglected. The parent is always just like, deal with it yourself, you know, boss up, you shouldn't feel your emotions. So they're used to pushing everything down, avoiding feelings, avoiding confrontation, and also not allowing people to get close. They fear closeness and they fear vulnerability. They value independence and they suppress emotional needs, which means they also expect you to suppress your own emotional needs. And if you and the other person in the relationship want to have intimate chats, you're upset, you want to talk about things, the avoidant, they're disappearing. It's too much pressure for them. They don't know what to do. They feel caged and boxed in, which is why there's often a push and pull chase effect, when they often create a lot of space and then they snap back to you, and then they pull away again and they snap back. That's why you always hear avoidants tend to leave someone after 6 months. 6 months later, they come back to you. And in that 6 months, they're probably not even processing the fact that they've left you because they're so avoidant. And they're genuinely also not thinking of you. Like, I have an avoidant friend. She would just wake up one morning and be like, I don't really like this guy anymore. She doesn't know why, just like that. They're also more likely to get into long distance relationships and not see their partner a lot because there is so much distance. They're probably not going to text as much because they want freedom, and they are not clingy. If you cling to them, they're actually going to pull back even more from you. And yeah, overall, this is the most toxic attachment style. And now you can see, if this avoidant person has no clue that they are avoidant, they have no self-awareness, they haven't done some type of therapy, you're fucked. They're fucked. I didn't know I used to be avoidant. So I would do these little toxic behaviors and pull back and then push. I didn't know why. I just thought, I'm like this. Until I met someone I actually cared about. And then I had to go, okay, right now I really want to pull back from you. It's not because I don't like you actually. It's because I need this independence. So I need to learn how to communicate better and also manage my own feelings. If you are unaware, you're just going to say, oh, I don't like this person because I want to be away. Avoidants also, they like to make everything seem easier. They like to romanticize a relationship. They have a lot of difficulty dating. Maybe they finally meet someone, they're like, okay, it's going to be perfect, it's going to be easy. One little thing happens, they're out the door. Because they're like, oh, this wasn't actually perfect or easy. So here's a game plan for dealing with avoidance. You need to respect their space because they value losing independence so much. Push for constant closeness. If that is something that's important to you, then I don't really recommend dealing with an avoidant. In general, I don't recommend it. Number 2, you need to be reliable but not clingy. Avoidant partners, they still crave on a very subconscious level emotional intimacy, and it's only going to happen when they feel safe to do so. So you need to be reliable and dependable. And yeah, it's exhausting. Focus on actions, not on words. Because they struggle to verbalize their emotions, they will tend to show it to you through their actions. During a fight, just give them space. They're going to come back. It doesn't matter if it's in a day, a week, or 6 months. An avoidant is going to come back because they don't even have the mental capacity to process what is happening in the moment. They're going to retreat and avoid and distract themselves for however long. Avoid taking their distance personally. That is just how they cope. They're not doing it because of you. They're doing it because they just simply need space. Which is why you can see an anxious avoidant relationship is so bad, because the anxious is going to be like, what have I done? Do you hate me? What have I done wrong? And they would just spiral and go even crazier. And then the avoidant would be like, oh my God, you are so clingy. You're so annoying. I can't do this anymore. So then they back off. The anxious is chasing. Then the anxious maybe gets self-respect, backs off a little. The avoidant's like, okay, now I'm kind of missing your presence. Let me chase you. And then the anxious is like, oh my God, hi. Boom. So it's just like back and forth. And that's what happens if you are not working on yourself, which is why it is so important to do therapy. If you are an avoidant, you need therapy because, sorry, you are low-key the spawn of Satan. So why don't you try therapy with the paid partner of today's video, BetterHelp. BetterHelp is on a mission to make therapy more affordable and accessible, and also make starting therapy a lot easier. BetterHelp is a platform where therapists and their clients can communicate effectively and get the most out of therapy. I love that they have group therapy sessions, they have an online journaling section, and also if you don't like your therapist, you can change it for free of charge, which is amazing, because if you go to in-person therapy, not only might there be a wait list, you need a referral, but if you don't like your therapist, what are you going to do? Go back to your doctor, go through the whole process again and waste a bunch of money. With BetterHelp, at least it's free to change, and you can scroll through the therapist and then keep on switching until you find someone you like, because it is like dating. Starting therapy with BetterHelp is super easy. All you need to do is fill out a questionnaire, and usually within a couple of days, BetterHelp will have matched you with a therapist. BetterHelp carefully makes sure that all of their therapists are well vetted and qualified, and the customer support team is always there to help you with whatever you need. So with over 7,000 reviews and a 4.5-star rating on Trustpilot, BetterHelp is a platform that you can trust. So go to my link here to get 10% off your first month of using BetterHelp. I also want to mention, if you don't know your attachment style, you can do a test, okay? Just Google attachment style test. And I like the purple one. Forgot what the website's called. We can be like a mixture of attachment styles, but predominantly one or the other. And yeah, again, it depends on who you are trying to attach to. I find if I'm dating someone secure, I can exhibit a lot of secure traits. And I might even be like a little bit avoidant because I'll be bored, and avoidants want a little bit of chaos. And then if I'm dating someone who's anxious, I'm so avoidant because I'm like, damn, like, can you leave me alone? And then if I'm dating an avoidant, I'm more fearful avoidant because I'm constantly back and forth between like closeness, I'm gonna match your energy. It's complicated, right? Okay, now let's go into anxious attachment. Anxious attachment forms when you're a caregiver at an early age. One day you're crying and they give you support, and then the next day they kind of dismiss your feelings and they don't give you any attention, because the child then wants to try to prove itself to its parent and be like, how come mommy is comforting me one day and the next day mommy isn't comforting me? Anxious attachment people, they have very low self-esteem, they have a strong fear of rejection, they are terrified of abandonment, they crave closeness and intimacy, and they are very, very sensitive to changes in behaviors. For example, if you're texting an anxious attachment, they are 100% going to be monitoring even the slightest change in tone in your text. And if you've been dealing with an anxious attachment, you'll find they often text you like, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Are you mad at me? Is like the key anxious attachment theme here. They often worry about not being loved or not being valued enough, and they will constantly try to get reassurance from you. Your game plan for dealing with an anxious is you need to provide reassurance. You need to frequently affirm to them that you love them, you care about them. It might be annoying, which is why you shouldn't, if you're anxious, don't date an avoidant, because they probably won't like to do this. It's in your best interest to actually date someone who loves giving you words of affirmation and they're okay with it. Someone who's also quite sensitive, someone who's predictable, reliable, stable, someone who's secure attachment. And you need to stay patient, because anxious attachment, they can be annoying. And also, if they are annoying you too much, it is important to set some boundaries, because you can't just keep feeding into this behavior. Also, it can form a pattern where Maybe they don't even need reassurance at some point, but they love it, so they keep coming back and you're getting a bit annoyed. So set boundaries. Let's now go into secure attachment. Secure attachments, obviously, when you have a very stable caregiver that's also meeting all of your needs and providing you comfort and allowing you to feel your feelings so that you can develop a healthy attachment to people. Characteristics: they're comfortable with intimacy and they're also comfortable with independence, which means they're not too attached to people in an unhealthy way. They also can let people go if they are toxic for them. They have healthy communication and healthy emotional regulation. They are trusting, empathetic, and they are reliable and dependable. They are like a rock. So a game plan with a secure attachment is you need to be direct and open. They value honesty and they value clear communication. So if you're an avoidant, you're going to make a secure person anxious because you're not going to communicate properly. They'll be like, what have I done wrong? Which is why I said it's so important if you have one of the other attachment styles that you get therapy, because it's also up to you to be the best version of yourself for other people. Next, match their emotional availability, which is so difficult if you're the other attachment styles. Get therapy. Next, be consistent. And if you do have these little toxic behaviors because of your attachment style, yeah, get therapy so you know how to deal with it, and openly communicate with your secure attachment partner. If you're with someone who's secure attachment, it will probably be quite easy to be with them. However, if you are anxious or avoidant, you might find being with them very boring because your nervous system is used to always being stimulated and in a toxic or unsafe environment. Those memes where it's like, oh, I'm going to the club tonight and I'm wearing a little dress and my boyfriend just said, have fun, babe, let me know when I can come pick you up. Well, my ex would have been like, I'm gonna rip off every guy's head who talks to you and you can't go dressed out like that. And then the girl's like, oh, I'm really bored. Like, why isn't he like that? It's attachment styles and it's what we get used to. And your partner can impact your attachment style. So if you have a very toxic partner and you're secure, ooh, something might change. Okay, now let's talk about the last one, fearful, also known as disorganized attachment. The rarest attachment style. However, remember, all of these attachment styles are very manageable if you do therapy. So fearful avoidant is a mixture of anxious and avoidant tendencies. They want intimacy, but they fear it. I know that sounds like you. Struggles with trust and emotional regulation. They're often unpredictable and they're very hot and cold in relationships. So they might be push-pulling by themselves, and they probably are. One minute they're like, I love him. The next minute they're like, I hate him. Because they can't even come to terms with their own feelings. So if you're dealing with a fearful avoidant, you need to be steady and reliable because they need a rock. Because they're all over the place. They need someone they can lean on. You need to create a safe space where they can feel vulnerable with you and show consistent empathy and kindness because they fear rejection and betrayal. They also fear abandonment. If they're opening up to you, it's really important that you don't invalidate how they feel. Same with an avoidant. Don't feed their drama because they're very unpredictable and they have a lot of emotional turbulence. You need to stay calm and grounded and not encourage this behavior. Encourage therapy actually because they need it. Same with avoidance. So, okay, so what does a fearful attachment style look like? 1 minute they might be really close to you and then the next minute they need to like ghost you for a couple of days to self-regulate because, well, that closeness actually made me feel really uncomfortable, and while I loved it in the moment, now I'm scared of getting attached to you. Now you can hurt me, now you can reject me, I need to pull back. So you will think they're playing games, and they might even think they're playing games with you, but it literally can just be their attachment style, and they would just innately think, why am I so toxic? Why am I like this? Yeah, you need therapy. How is it developed? Simply like one day your parents giving you a lot of love, the next minute they're very cold to you. They don't know what to do. So the universal tips for all attachment style is you should learn other people's and you should learn about your own attachment style because it's really going to help you in dealing with people. For example, one of my best friends, before I knew she was anxious attachment, before I knew about attachment styles, I wouldn't reply to her in 20 minutes and she'd be like, what did I do wrong? Do you hate me? And she'll do this so often that I was like, I'm like, what is wrong? Until I kind of learned more and realized she was anxious attachment. And now I can provide that reassurance and I don't get annoyed. And it also helps you more effectively communicate with your partner. For example, if your partner's avoidant, you then know you shouldn't be chasing after them when they need that space and they're going to come back to you. But overall, you should just be prioritizing emotional regulation and therapy and get more coping strategies and mechanisms. Lastly, avoid manipulation tactics. When you know someone's attachment style, it's pretty easy to manipulate them. Like if you want to get an anxious attachment person to do whatever you want, literally just shower them with love and attention and blah blah blah, and they'll be so loyal to you. But we're not going into that today. Anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Go check out my main channel and I will see you next week.